Okay. Some kind of crazy question. What advice would you give Brian on his wedding day? What kind of advice would you give him?
Who? Which one?
If Brian was to get married, what kind of advice would you give him on his wedding day?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking to him.
Okay.
I'm certainly off. That's pretty harsh.
Really?
I'd give him a little advice to just, well, you gotta be careful. The first thing is to be respect and really respect your wife, your girlfriend,
Who said that?
and her. Really respect her. Handle her with care, and don't take advantage of the young lady.
Okay.
And then when you get married, make sure when you sign the vow with her, then that means that you should live a real good life. Take care of her, and she'll take care of you.
Okay.
Think about it, husband.
And then if you do this and make a real good bond together, then you'll find out that by working together you can achieve quite a bit.
Yeah, did you hear that?
I work with you all the time. I'm going to.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this question. How did you find out that you were going to be a parent for the first time?
Yeah, no.
Well, we know how it happened, but you know when.
What was your reaction?
Yeah, what was your reaction to that?
Did you tell him? Did you?
Who told him?
He told
Well,
me.
we were going to the doctors for me to get pregnant. Nobody knows what I've gone through to even have these two, you know.
She had a lot of female problems.
You didn't get shots and stuff, did you?
They didn't have any of that then. But we're sitting there and
Who
things
told you,
just-
Dr. Feller?
Yeah, and things just weren't working
Well,
out too good.
He said, I know you don't have children, and he said, well, let me see what I can do, he said. Because I'd already had a tumor on my
Ovary?
over, and they had to remove all that. Or was one that was growing, you know. And
Yeah. And later on, she had another one.
Did
I'm lucky
they
to
have
be
to do
here.
like artificial insemination?
Oh, I'll tell you what,
Type
they heard
thing?
too. We were going to Dr. Feller, and nothing was happening, you know. So he says that, well, a lot of time it isn't the woman's fault. It could be your fault. Oh, man.
Blame it on the jungle, right?
Being a young man, that was like sticking a pin in a balloon, you know.
But sometimes it is the man's fault.
that's right.
And then, of course,
So you blamed it on all those pills to keep the malaria away from you.
I guess. Yeah.
Well,
The worst part about it over there was the first part when they didn't even have the adamant, and we had to take quinine. Two
what did
quinine.
Feller do so you had the baby? I mean,
Oh.
what did you have to do? Was something really crazy?
No, he had to blow my tubes out as a last resort. Oh, man, does that hurt.
I've heard a lot of people have that one.
Okay.
But, I mean, see, they didn't know if it was just because I had just the one ovary or what it was, you know.
No,
But then he told you, and you were real happy, huh?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Well,
after we
You know,
had,
people come and say, how come you don't have a baby? You know, because Bob and them had 4 of them, you know.
Well, because sometimes it doesn't happen that
I
way.
said, well, you just think you're just ignorant, don't answer 'em, you know.
Yeah. Okay, now, do you remember anything about what Art and I did that when we were small that really amazed you? No, did we ever do anything really special, crazy, or anything that really kind of amazed you that we were doing that at a young age?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think your brother more than you.
Or, I don't know where he got the money, but he saved it. And he walked from our house up to somewhere around the old
Remember where the old cats used to be, where,
Walgreens is today.
I went with him.
You went with me.
I went with him.
oh, did you?
Yeah.
They walked up there and bought a set of dishes for us for Mother's Day.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at
And we got some of those plates downstairs.
And I won't throw them away. Did I got a thing? I'll have to give you each one of those. Huh?
Anything else that we did, or Art did that was special, or what I did was special? I remember up on Northwoods where he walked, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 miles away, and the police found him.
Oh, that was when we lived in. That's when.
I thought it was when
That
we
was
lived
right
up in
before
Northwoods.
you were born.
Couldn't have been. He'd only been 2 years old.
Wait a minute.
He walked.
Oh, that
it was
was-
up in Northwoods.
That was Kevin. No, it wasn't. Because the police came back with you guys or something.
He didn't come back with me. I didn't walk away.
No,
I
it
knew where
was
my
the
bread
two.
was buttered.
You were only a baby yet.
Yeah.
And, Mrs. Hinckley was her grandson and him. They walked all the way up on, they
The
walked all the
Boyle
way to, they were trying to find George's Tavern up there. Remember that?
No, but I...
They walked to Boyle Avenue, and that's when the police saw them walking. These kids that young.
Gee, I tell you, I was so hurt when they came back and one of us was on the porch all the time, and I guess the phone rang or something. I walked in.
That's all it takes.
That's just what he. And didn't he have rubber
No.
boots on or something?
Now, where were you guys living at that time?
We
With
living
the-
on
with the-
Sarpy Avenue.
While we were getting our.
We sold one house, and we were just getting ready to get another one.
That'd be the Boyle. That's a pretty good height.
Yeah.
That's about that's about
Yeah.
10, 12, 14 blocks, isn't it?
They had to walk across the viaduct there and everything else. Oh, I tell you. And my mother
What-
and Mrs.
okay.
Hinckley, Dad, I had them over, and I'll tell you, they were basket cases.
What was one of the most unusual things that we did when we were small? Well, besides your other son running away all the time.
Yeah, I couldn't even think of what things are Brian. I couldn't think of that.
Is there anything we did unusual that was?
No,
What do you think about that?
I thought when you were really young, you guys were really nice guys.
Oh, we're not nice
Well,
guys
you
now?
were. I mean, you could put him down. Well, he used, Brian, he used to always take over the den.
Who?
Him with all of his
All your
soldiers and
armies.
everything. And
Remember,
I'm
he said-
telling you, you could hardly get through that den. He used to build so much stuff in there. And I'd say, the weekend is gonna go up. Let's see, what else did,
You had some really good soldier outfit. You know that?
whatever happened to him?
No.
Soldier's outfit. No.
Oh, you had all kinds of stuff.
Probably just sold them or something, or give them away. Yeah.
Okay. What was one of the funniest things you remember that we ever did? Said or did?
Why didn't you tell me you were gonna do this? I mean,
Well, no,
years
that's
ago.
see, that's why I could, this kind of you get the spontaneous stuff.
Yeah. I don't.
I remember you had a birthday party one time, and two of your friends they were only in grammar school then. Remember,
Eddie and Dave. Eddie Doris and Dave Miller.
No, this had to be grammar school yet, because you were going to Atonement then.
Yeah, that's what I said, Eddie Doris and Dave Miller.
No,
Those are the only guys I went to school with at the end.
that's right.
7th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, there were only about 5 guys left in the thing, the rest
That's
were
right, that
girls.
was, I was thinking about the time that, I guess that must have been art. That art. But we used to have a birthday party for him all the time, I remember that.
What happened?
Okay, what happened to this birthday party?
Well, one time why, it was Art's all the cousins and everything were there. It was Christmas. And his birthday was right after Christmas. And Art, he got jealous because they were all ignoring him because he was only a little kid then yet, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got a picture of where he threw a fit. Do you remember that when you,
No, I don't
did you ever
remember
see
things like
that?
No.
And he was kicking on the floor and everything
He's
else.
having a temper tantrum.
I don't know when I did that.
But we'll tell you one about Art though. When he was in his senior year in high school, and he was driving a car, and the teacher asked him to help grade the English paper.
Oh, we've heard this one.
Yeah.
That's
I've
right.
heard this one, so.
Yeah. And that'll always be funny to me.
Yeah, right.
What happened?
Well, he wakes up and he ain't home yet. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, you know.
They had a 10 o'clock curfew.
So, well, that ain't the funny part.
No, I know,
And she
but
says, Art ain't home yet. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, oh. I said, well, ain't he grading papers with the teacher? Here she is, and it's in bed now. Opens this thing up, said, take a look at this teacher. And I says,
I can remember.
I said, oh, I said, now, what do you want me to do? He says, well, we're going to have to find out where he is. I said, well, I'll get in the car, and I'll drive up there, because I know what apartment it is, because he told us. And
That lady gets around.
and see if the car's there. But I'm not going to knock on that door, and I'm not going to do anything. We'll come back home, and I'll let you take care of it from there.
See, that's the way it is.
So she comes back home, and I said, yeah, the car's there. And do you see any lights? I said, how could you see lights? I don't know where the apartment is. So she ends up calling up there, and then the teacher was really, really apologetic. She was. There were 2 other women there, and some state representative was there. And he gave Art a bunch of books and stuff like that. But they had no idea it was 2 o'clock because they were talking and time passes, you know.
Boy, I've had that happen too. You just run out of time.
Yeah, I can remember one morning.
Yeah, you're at 5 o'clock. We were really worried sick.
I
You
never came.
didn't even know about
I
that.
never came home at 5 o'clock
Yes,
in the
you
morning.
did.
Was that the one with Tom?
Yeah.
What happened?
This girl
Well-
got locked out of her apartment. We sat with her till her roommate came home. And
It was, because Art
was
drove
free.
all around the neighborhood. He said he isn't at Tom's house. That's the first place he went. And when he came home, he wasn't here. So finally he comes traipsing in, and he had this, you know. Boy, I'll tell you, I was really sick that night.
okay.
We were on little
Well,
kid stuff, not big stuff.
Yeah. Okay. What's the most difficult thing about raising us?
Not too much.
You guys were heavy people.
Getting them all the,
You broke your
Poor
arm over
lady,
there on
I
that
mean.
swing one time. Your elbow or something over at T. Tony's. You remember that?
Yeah.
Fell off the swing.
I didn't fall off the swing. The swing came apart and I hit the fence.
Oh.
That seat fell off. Remember the seat? The
Oh, he was.
bolts were rusted on there and it came flying off there. Hit the fence.
He didn't even,
He didn't even go over to see how you were, you know. But took care of that easy. Art, when he running off the football field, and there was a big hole he stepped in it. Did something. What? And they went up and that place where they took him and put that cast on his leg or something. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then they find out the next day with X-rays there was nothing wrong with it, just a bad sprain. And cutting that off, it cut his leg about 4 or 5 times.
Oh, with the saw. Oh,
Well, I
God.
remember when I broke my wrist?
Yeah.
Remember when I broke my wrist up in the helmet?
How'd that ever happen? I don't know.
There was an ice storm and we were up there sliding down the sidewalk and
He fell.
some dumb kid came in front of me and I fell and I stuck my hand out like that and it broke. And it didn't feel bad when I was out in the cold. I got in the room and I took my coat off and I'm in there and all of a sudden I'm just sweating. I'm sweating and I started getting sick. I said, I forgot who the teacher was. I go, and I sit there and I tried to move my wrist and I couldn't move my wrist.
Was that, I don't remember what her name
It
was.
was, yeah.
But she was, you're the first one that ever asked me if he behaves in school. She said, you know, he's the best behaved kid in this room.
Oh, you
So I raised my hand. I said, I think I hurt my wrist. I'm really hurting and all this. And she goes, come up here. And she looked at my wrist and it was about that big around. No, really.
Go see the nurse.
She goes, go see the nurse. Put your coat on. Remember, I couldn't even put my coat on. And we went down to the old DePaul Hospital and they had those nuns working the X-ray room. And this nun says, turn your wrist over. And she goes, and I said, I can't. It hurts too much. She grabbed me by the fingers and turned my wrist.
Oh,
I almost slugged a nun then, you know that.
Boy, I'll never forget when you were just about a year old, too, and oh, you were so sick. And
Oh,
Aunt
really?
Kate,
Really? What'd I have?
Dysentery.
dysentery like, and they had to put you in the hospital,
Oh.
and they wouldn't let me stay with
And
you.
they wouldn't let us stay with you that night?
Oh, and I'm telling you, I was so worried.
Oh. And we went home, boy.
Wait a minute.
He was dehydrated.
yeah, as I said, he was dehydrated.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you, when he'd throw up, you know, we were holding him on our shoulder and everything because he was so sick. And when the vomit hit that floor, it looked like the floor would even bubble or something, you know. Oh,
Took the varnish out, huh?
Well, that sounds real thrilling, guys.
We get up there the next morning, and they had him in a straitjacket.
and he was just
Had
like a
him in
little wet
straitjacket.
puppy. He
You
just
just
looked
put
at
kids in straitjackets.
No, I punched the nurse.
Yeah.
The nurse had glasses and I punched her in the nose. I broke her glasses.
But I mean, they
They
did that
put
to
me in a
my brother
straitjacket.
one time too, when he was real little.
Two? That's what,
Because
2 or
he was
3?
too
2, 3,
squirmy
4.
and they couldn't
Two,
was
three,
real
four,
young.
so they
You were
put him
real
in
young.
the strength.
And,
Probably in a, yeah, that was good.
Oh, no wonder.
He didn't want anybody but his mom.
but that fellow released him that next day, didn't he?
As
Boy,
long as they stopped it, you know.
was you glad to come home? Oh, and were we glad that we were taking you home? Oh, man. That really upset us.
Okay.
He used to call the hospital all the time from somebody let him crawl up a pole and use the phone up there and all stuff like
It
that.
was on a Saturday. I was working on a Saturday.
Okay. So now we know, what's the most rewarding thing about being a parent?
Having you and Arthur.
And our wonderful wives, right?
That's right.
That's right. But I thought you said what was the most wonderful. Yeah.
Rewarding thing, okay.
I'll tell you, we've had a wonderful life.
They made that in a movie, didn't they?
Maybe it
No,
was
it's
the
not.
grandchildren, maybe it was having their grandchildren.
Oh, yeah.
But you guys
And our
really,
grandchildren.
you guys really put a lot of effort into grandkids.
At least the ones you could see.
They don't Josh a
I
lot.
know,
Back in the day.
I didn't see Tricia too
Okay.
much.
No.
Go away.
But,
What was your first job?
mine,
No, his.
Well,
Worked for
the
35
first real
years.
job I had was with Wood Electric.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Who's put a long time.
I know, I'm just asking. How old were you when you started working? How old were you when you took that job with Word
About 18 after high
Has to
school.
be somewhere 17 or 18. Because I was out of school about a year and just worked at the
It was
post
probably
office.
18.
We,
you had a deal.
You worked at the
with
post
18 or
office?
19 if you were
well,
out of school.
now wait a minute.
Come on, let him talk.
We get jobs at the post office at Christmas time, picking up mail and deliver it just like they do today when they get
Yeah.
the heavy rushes and
Mhm.
stuff. Unloaded boxcars. And you got there, they had something or didn't have something. It was
What'd they
re-
pay you?
It was really hard to get 25 cents an hour.
So it's
What-
like a day-by-day job, if you paying,
Day by day job that I went to work in the morning and
What
come
would they
home.
pay you at the post office?
Huh?
What'd they pay you at the post office?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Sure, that's a long time ago.
I don't know what they.
I wouldn't remember my first job, what I made.
Nobody's asking you.
But I mean, would you?
maybe.
Sure. I made $1.25 an hour up at the car wash plus tips. Believe me,
know-
I remember that one.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. But you gotta remember that most of the jobs you could get were 25 cents an hour when we come out of high school. 25 cents an hour. And when I got the job for 35 cents an hour, those guys said, man, you're the luckiest guy in the world. How could you get a job?
Now, how long did you work at Word at?
About a year.
And then you went into being an apprentice?
Well, they didn't quite call it that at that time, but that's really what it was, that you could wire a house, because they only had one salary at that time. It was $1.85 an hour if you worked commercially,
Yeah.
and
Is that what you
everybody,
made?
industrial or commercially.
When you started wiring houses, you made $1.85
No. When we, after years, I went from 35 cents an hour to 50 cents an hour while I was, we'll say, an apprentice learning to wire a house. And there were 25 of us that were picked for this. And then after that 90 days, then I start wiring houses.
How
Now,
long
it's
did you,
nothing,
how long did you wire houses?
huh?
How long did you wire houses?
About a year. A little over a year, because then I had to go to the service. Then I was called up, and I went from $44 a week to, was it $27 a month? Was it $27?
The Army paid you $27 a month.
That's right.
$21 a month.
Was it $21 a month?
You went from you went from $44
To $27 a month.
$21.
$21 a month.
What you had to do it.
Yep, it was something like that.
Well, then they sent me to Camp Roberts, California.
Now, your uncle helped you get in, right? To be an electrician?
I'm sure.
Now, how did he not,
Huh?
how did he not go into his uncle's business? Or his dad's business? You know, how come he didn't become one of the Hirschhausens and Sons?
I don't know why he did
I
that.
don't know. I don't know. Uncle Art was pretty much hooked on the thing. Dad tried to get me into the railroad quite a few times, but
Was he mad you didn't go into the railroad?
well, he was hoping I'd go into the railroad, but I never. It was hard to get into these places. Boy, nobody was hiring.
You were better off as electrician.
Well, Then when I
How,
worked,
how long did you work as an electrician?
from the time I started,
Yeah.
1940, from 1940
Took a break.
to
When did you
was it
retire?
1982.
Year before it was
44 years, I think I worked as an electrician for Mac Electric. Now that's counting the years I was in the service, because they counted them on my retirement and everything.
Now, how old were you when you retired?
64.
64. I retired a little early.
Maybe when I'm quit at 10.
Yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who was the person who had the most positive influence on your life?
Gotta say your mother.
Not your dad, not your mother?
Well, not really, because
Why?
Mom set us all straight, made us go to church every Sunday, Sunday school and church. And the church we went to, it was that one on Shoto and Newstead, I think it was. And they had German services in the morning and English service right after the German service. I know catechism was, I got confirmed there. At
Yeah, I
that
know.
church.
Okay. Is there a person who changed the course of your life by something they did?
Well, I guess I'd have to say Vera first. Then I'd say Uncle Art, I guess, because he really pushed for me to get into the top side of the electrical trade.
Yeah, your wife got you, settled you down for your wild days, huh?
When I came home from the service, and I think, now this is when we both came back from Camp Crowder. I was discharged at Jefferson Barracks. Oh, I never will forget my mother. When I come home and from the West Coast after I come in, and we were coming underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, and we were looking up at that thing, and man remembered the day that we left there. When we left, it was in November of '41. We went under the Golden Gate Bridge. And when we came back underneath there, boy, what a thrill that was. And then we got on the train and they rode us here. And when I called home and told them I called Hirschhausen's house because I know if I called Mom, she could have fainted, you know. So he in turn went and picked her up. He left work, went and picked her up. They came down to Jefferson Barracks. They knew what time I was getting out of there. I never will forget that. Wonderful. You could hardly walk across the street.
Okay. Well, yeah, we know you served in World War II, right?
Yeah.
Now, you were injured, right? You were wounded.
Well, yes, got my little finger taken off.
Got dengue fever, and
Well,
they were so
What? How did you lose part of your fingers? Do you know?
couldn't tell you.
just during an air raid or something.
It's when it took place. I guess I didn't even
Did you-
know.
did
I
you
didn't
live
even
at-
know what happened.
Was it at Bruna?
Huh?
Was it at Bruna?
No,
You were
long
just-
before that.
Grandpa.
It was at Port Moresby?
Well, Could have been at Millen Bay more than anything.
Grandpa,
That's someplace.
you were just under fire or something, and the next thing you knew, you just part of your finger.
It never, you could see guys hit, you know, and it wouldn't be a bad wound to drop them, because the Japanese were shooting the 25 caliber gun all the time,
Yeah.
high velocity shell, and it'd go right through you, zip.
They didn't know until they saw the blood coming
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and these guys would be walking and holding their position, and they're sweating like crazy, you know, and all of a sudden they'd look down, or hands would go up and come out with a handful of blood, then they'd drop on the ground, you
Yeah.
know.
So you were just like fighting, and all of a sudden you just noticed your finger was.
Or did somebody tell you you were wounded?
Yeah, well, eventually they looked down and said, look at your hand, you know.
Of course,
Then-
I'd have
So
worried
you think it
about
was at Millen Bay, huh?
I think it was a phone. Then we ended up getting in, they had, the combat engineers would put